Okay, good afternoon everyone. Very excited to be installing my TPAM, my Toyota Accessory powered mount. So the first step is to make sure that you snug in the bracket piece, this item here, into the slot that's available. And then we're going to trace out the holes. Being here in Canada, I preheated the vehicle to try and make sure that it wasn't too cold while working on this. So now getting ready to pull off the face here. You can see the old mount that I used to use, just not exactly what I want to use long term. Okay, now using a 10mm deep socket, we'll work on releasing the radio or smart system faceplate. I'm finding it easier to actually use a socket on a screwdriver. Okay, so to remove the climate control bezel, we're going to put our fingers up. Similar to the way we pulled this item off, we're going to put our fingers in and sort of press against the harder solid piece behind and pull out. Okay, so what I've actually done is remove the climate control bezel. I've got a little bit bigger hands than the average, and so I had difficulty fitting in behind here. But I think you can see here's the cigarette lighter clamp, so that just pulls out. And then now I'm going to work with these posy crimps. So how these crimps work is you're going to pull out one side. You'll see a post inside. That post is where you're going to wrap your TPAM wire around. And then the other side, where you release the black item, when you undo that all the way, you're going to see there's a point that's actually going to puncture or tap the original Toyota cigarette lighter. So that's going to puncture through and tap like that. So you're going to use the purple wire from in here, the purple there. If you can see it all the way in there. The purple wire attaches to the red. First thing I've got to do is strip off these. So I'm going to strip off about 10 to 15 millimeters. So I just used a wire stripper like this. Insert the wire into the stripper. First I use the 14 gauge slot, then I use the 16 to pull off the plastic sheathing. So I think I'm actually going to try inserting the wires down first. You always wish you had a couple of more hands here. Make sure the wire is loose enough. You don't want to have it pinching. You don't want to create a fault or an issue later on. As you can see, the wire is sitting down behind the radio or the stereo nav system, whatever you want to call it. So now I can get started here. Okay, so I just realized a mistake I made. You have to tap the wire to the cigarette lighter first, because otherwise you have nothing to be able to spin, because you can't coil up your whole wire around the cigarette lighter. So I had to undo it after that, and now I've got to tap the cigarette lighter first. There's not much room. The picture shows popping out the USB port, but I can't seem to feel how to pop that out. So now I'm trying to debate whether or not I can do this myself, because my hands don't really fit in there very well. Okay, because it took so much effort and I don't know how good of a job I did doing the posi clamps, I'm going to put a little bit of electrical tape on them just to make sure that nothing's sticking out. I think you can see there the posi clamps are now on. Red to purple, black to black white, but just want to make sure that there's nothing of risk there, so I'm just going to put a little bit of electrical tape on them. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is plug back in the climate control bezel and then test everything out, see how we made out. Wish me luck. That was way more difficult than I was wanting or expecting. So I'm just plugging each of these back in carefully. So there's one there, two right there, and then the third I think you can see is right there. I totally have a newfound respect for all the vloggers out there who do all this work with correct lighting, nice camera work, etc. So I'm hoping this is somewhat helpful for you. Okay, so the truck turned on. That's a good sign to start. Now to test out the make sure I did this right. Okay, so in the past I used my cigarette lighter with this little USB insert. So I'm going to check that now and see if it works. Okay, so you can see, got power there. And now I'm charging on the phone as well. So luckily I didn't screw that part up. So I pushed the climate control bezel back in. Now to see about putting in the okay, so now I'm reinstalling the two bottom factory bolts into the bottom of the stereo configuration. So again, I use my screwdriver for most of it and then using the socket for the last little wrench. There we go. So now we have the climate control bezels back in place, the underneath. The underneath the steering wheel is now all back in place. And then we have the two bottom screws or nuts or bolts put back in on the stereo. Okay, so I just mounted the top left driver's side bracket, which was the smaller of the two. And then now I'm going to install this bracket on the passenger side top right. Again, using the same factory bolt from before. Okay, so off camera I put on the larger L bracket as attached, and then I snapped the bezel back into place and then realized I forgot to leave the cord up. So I'm going to pop it back out, pull the cord, and then move on to the next step. Just like the tip in some of the other videos, it's a little bit easier if you start with the top. So go left, top, right, and then bottom and down, and it snaps into place much easier. So there, now we have the cord sticking up. We can carry on. So going with this one goes on the top right. Using a stubby screwdriver, make sure you have enough room above the between the windshield and the bezel itself. Taking the longer machine screw, attaching it into place here. Don't know if you can see here, but the screw is, or the bolt, sorry, is actually angled sort of like this way. So it's not straight down, it's similar towards a bit of this angle as well as a little bit back towards the front here. So I'm just now screwing this in. Okay, so the best timing is I'm almost finished and I found a piece, or the bolt that was holding my GoPro stand, so I couldn't raise the stand up as high as it is now. So the third piece we're going to assemble is this small item here, the L-shaped bracket again, or a Z-shaped bracket. It's the smaller of the two, and it's going to face to the left like so. So I'm just going to bolt that in. Same thing, the longer of the 3 bolts, machine screws. And this is going to be machine screw, washer, and then through and into the hole. So again, this one is slightly pointing this way, again back a little bit towards the video screen, and then a little bit back towards the driver. Again, using the scrubby Phillips screwdriver just to make it a little bit easier. I've tightened these down pretty tight. We'll see if they're in the right spot. Okay, so now I'm just connecting the red and the black. So red to red, black to black, and then I'm going to soft fit the actual TPAM accessory itself. Try and make sure they're in as far as they're supposed to go. So it looks like it's going to work. So the drive fit, and now we'll go get the nuts. So carrying on, we have these small machine screws, and that's what we're going to put into the tops of the accessory mount in hole 2, 6, and 8. Let's see if I can get those to fit. So I'm going to put the first one in just a little bit, and then move over to the last one over here if I can, and hope that they are aligned properly. So now what I've done is I've loosened up the original bracket, put in this one. I'm going to tighten this up. That should align the bracket properly, or at least get it close, and then I'll start working on the bracket underneath. Okay, so again, you live and learn. I've now loosened up both of these, the two right, both the bracket underneath and the TPAM machine screw here. Pushed this over to make sure that the middle one fit. Now I'm going to go through and tighten them all up in unison. Okay, so I went back and forth between the right bracket screw and then the 3 mount screws just to try and level it off a little bit. They're all now tight and looks pretty good. We're getting there. The one thing I forgot to do, and now I'm going to do and make sure I'm not a complete idiot, is I forgot to test the actual powered mount. So let's see if that works. Okay, so taking a Bluetooth USB-C, popping it into the bottom of the 2 chargers, and the moment of truth here. No juice. Again, sorry everybody, I'm new to this, so it also helps if you turn the power on. So let's try that again. We'll unplug everything, start the truck. That TRD Pro exhaust sounds great, doesn't it? I don't know if that comes through on your camera. And let's check this one more time. We have power in the top one. We have power in the bottom one. So there we go, excellent. Okay, nearing completion, so I'm getting pretty excited. This is the connection bracket to connect the 3 TPAM with the wire covering plate. So on one side you can see it's tapped, sort of acting like a nut, and then on the other side's flush. So it's going to go in with the 3 points pointing towards the driver, and the other face, the idea is it'll connect like this and cover up and make it look like a more professional finish. There's a bag of 6 black machine screws, so that's the bag you need to make sure you grab. So we're going to use the 3rd, 4th, and 7th holes, and we're just going to screw these in finger tight to start. I've got the left one started here. I'm just going to jump over and see if I can get the far right in the 7th hole started. My hands are blocking, so I don't know if there's much point being on film, but there, we've got it. We've got those 2 started. Now the 3rd should be much easier to place and fit because it's already aligned. And there we go. Okay, so now we're going to try and see if we can join to the other hole there. So that one was much easier to get in. And then we'll just carry on placing the other screws throughout. I like to work from the outside in. And then assuming the last one will fit. Okay, so again, working across evenly, going to try and snug them all up. So there we go. The TPAM is in place. The wire cover is in place. I think there's just one more screw to do. So now comes the really exciting part. We can start attaching the RAM mounts to the 3 TPAM. I'll put links down below as to where I bought the parts from. I believe it was gpscity.ca. So I already pre-assembled them. I don't think you need a video on that. If you do, put it in the comments down below and I can certainly work on trying to do that for you. I'm just going to loosen this clip up. Actually, I guess you're going to see it anyway, because I'm going to loosen the clip up and mount the diamond mount first. I got an extra baggie. They don't mention it on the website. Probably would be better if they did, is to buy another bag of machine screws. So they were really kind enough. I realized that after I received my RAM mounts first. Luckily the TPAM hadn't shipped, so I called back and they added them to the bag for me. But you really should make sure that you order the machine screws so that you can attach your RAM mounts when you get them. I would have been really disappointed had I not been able to do that. So luckily they took care of me when I called them back. So this is pretty easy. Sort of screw them in at an even level. So now you're going to get to see the reassembly. So I just bought the RAM mount. I can put in the part numbers down below. This is going to be for my phone. So you loosen it the clamp enough so that both ends open, and then you tighten it. And then it ends up becoming very flexible in terms of where you want it to go. So for now, I haven't used this yet, so I'm going to try there, and the best part is if you don't like it, you move it around. I also, when I go off-roading, I like to use my iPad. And with the iPad, I use the program Gaia. Most of you are probably familiar with that, either to follow a trail or to map my route. And that works really well off of the iPad. So I'm going to throw up an iPad mount here as well. So I'm going to do the same thing. Probably speed this up. Don't need to bore you with the details here. So I have an X grip for the phone and an X grip for the iPad. And for the iPad, I actually got the, I think it's the XL arm. Again, I can put the links to the parts down below. So if you're watching here, you can see that for the iPad mount, pull in the 3 levers or the 2 levers there, place your iPad in, it's stored up, and then over here, same thing for the phone, pull them down, drop in the phone, and there you go, you're all set. Very excited about how this finished out. So I now have my phone up out of the way. It's nice. Won't be stuck in the air conditioner all summer and won't be stuck in the heat all winter. And then when we look over here, trying to get the lighting right, that's where the iPad can go. And you can power them up. So let's one more time check this out. Start the truck. And we've got 81% and the little charging button you can see up in the top right. So again, just very quickly, truck is on, phone is charging, iPad's connected, very clean build. The only complaint I would have would be those posi connections tapping into the cigarette lighter from down below. Not a lot of space if you have average to large size hands. But again, look at that nice clean effect. I've been wanting this since I bought the truck a year ago. Very sturdy. Look forward to taking it off-road. One last little tip is I know that I would probably forget or lose these items. So I'm just going to put the extra screws, the extra machine screws back in the holes, and then at which time I ever buy a diamond mount or anything else, they're right there to be used. If you haven't already, subscribe below. I'll put the links up to all the parts. Again, being new to this sort of thing, I'm not a professional. I'm just getting into my Toyota truck and off-roading and hopefully overlanding, etc. But I want to shout out and say thank you very much to Adventure Built for a really good video. Watching that video step by step helped me get through this project. The only funny thing is that in my 2020 Pro and the 3 T-Pan that I ordered, it came with posi connectors as opposed to the pinch clamps that were in the video. So just, I had to YouTube a couple of other videos. Again, I'll put those in the link below. Thank you very much.